A viewer wrote in to set me straight after our last 1950s home video. Her coal country house never had a carport, milk chute, or backyard incinerator, and the coal chute and coal room, cellar, mechanical doorbell, clothesline poles, enamel counters, and one bathroom layout we called gone was still there. She was right. The 1950 actually had two kinds of homes. One was the tidy new suburban ranch with everything modern. The other was the old house that just kept on living, the kind that still had a hand pump at the sink and a cistern under the yard. In this video, we uncover 25 things those older homes had that the new suburbs never did. And one of them, the old house thing a new suburb could never manufacture, will surprise you. The new suburbs promised a fresh start, concrete, drywall, and appliances in one package. Old houses held another wealth, rooms added by hand, wells dug by neighbors, and lessons learned by making do. Stay to the end, because number 19 is something no tract home could replicate. The hand-worn layers of a house built by generations, not a sales brochure. Number 1, a company house lease tied to the job. In coal towns and mill villages across America, you didn't buy your home, you rented it from your employer. The lease was your job contract. Miss a shift, lose your house. Why it faded. After the war, the GI Bill and cheap suburban mortgages let workers buy their own homes for the first time. A company house meant no equity, no roots, and when the mine played out, whole towns vanished. Freedom meant owning your own roof. Number 2, a company store ledger for household credit. At mining towns and mill villages, the company store offered a line of credit logged in a thick ledger. Workers could buy flour, salt pork, or shoe leather on account, and the debt was deducted from the next pay envelope. This system tied a family's survival to the employer's goodwill, and it faded only after federal laws in the 1930s restricted company stores, making independent shopkeeping possible again. The ledger kept running tallies, a personal record of debt that could follow a family for years. But the system was vulnerable to abuse. High prices and shoddy goods were common. When federal work relief and stronger labor laws gave workers more choice, the company store faded into memory. Number 3, a hand pump at the kitchen sink. Long before municipal water lines reached each home, many a farmhouse relied on a simple pitcher pump bolted to the countertop. You'd prime it with a cup of water, then work the handle up and down until the suction drew cold well water from the cistern below. But as rural electrification spread through the 1930s and 40s, electric pumps became cheap and common. The old hand pump, once a daily necessity, was soon seen as a relic of a harder time. It faded because convenience simply won out, and few people missed the morning arm workout. Number 4, a buried cistern or rainwater tank. Before municipal water lines, households carved a cistern into the cellar floor or just outside the foundation. Gutters channeled each downpour into this dark reservoir, where sediment settled and coolness kept the water sweet. For drinking, you still boiled it, but for washing, for the garden, for the stock, it was free water that asked only a hand pump. By the 1950s, advancing water treatment and rural electrification made running water cheap and modern. Cisterns came to seem backward, a reminder of scarcity in an age of plenty. Homeowners capped them or simply forgot them, and the new suburb houses arrived with copper pipes already buried, no tank required. Number 5, a separate summer kitchen. In the days before air conditioning, cooking over a wood stove in July could make the main house unbearable. So many homes had a detached summer kitchen, a small outbuilding or lean-to where meals were prepared during hot months, keeping the heat and odors outside. As central heating and electric ranges became standard, and as the idea of a separate cooking shed began to seem primitive and low-class, most summer kitchens were torn down or converted into storage. A sensible solution, outlived by progress. Number 6. A coal range with its ash bucket. In older houses, the kitchen's heart was a massive cast-iron coal range, fired up before dawn. Each morning began with shaking down the ashes into the bucket beneath, a gritty, dusty chore that kept the fire breathing the day. By the 1960s, automatic gas and electric ranges pushed the coal range into basements and junk shops. No one missed the daily ash haul, the black dust that settled on each surface, or the constant vigilance needed to keep the fire alive. Convenience won, though the old range's steady heat and forgiving oven were never quite matched. Number 7. A springhouse that kept milk cool. A small, stone building was built over a natural spring or a shallow well, and the constant flow of cold water across the stone floor acted as a natural refrigerator. When affordable electric refrigerators appeared in the 1950s, the springhouse, with its constant moisture and stone chill, was suddenly seen as damp and inconvenient, and it was abandoned for the gleaming kitchen appliance. Number 8. A storm cellar for sudden weather. In the 1950s, many rural homes included a small underground room reached by a slanted wooden door, stocked with canned goods, and a hand-crank radio to ride out tornadoes. Suburban homes built later omitted the cellar, central air, and cable weather alerts made the refuge feel obsolete. Yet in Tornado Alley, generations still swear by a stout door and a dugout shelter. Number 9. A walk-in pantry with built-in shelves. Before refrigerators grew large, a cool, dark pantry kept preserves, flour, and root vegetables within reach. Shelves were custom-fitted to the space, often floor to ceiling, with slatted fronts for air circulation. But the walk-in pantry faded as post-war suburbs embraced streamlined kitchens with continuous countertops and built-in cabinets. What had been a room dedicated to supplies was now seen as wasted square footage, storage consolidated into fewer, shallower cupboards. Number 10. A transom window over an interior door, a simple hinge of light that let air and borrowed sunshine move from room to room in a house without central air conditioning. But when central heating and electric fans became affordable after the war, builders saw the transom as old-fashioned and drafty. It was cheaper to seal each room tight and let a thermostat do the work that a hinged window and a breeze once did for free. Number 11. When an old house settled and a crack snaked across a bedroom wall, the repair was a craft. A layer of brown coat, a scratch coat of lime plaster keyed into the wooden lath, then a smooth finish coat, each left to cure for days. After 1950, drywall panels, quick, cheap, and hung in hours, edged this slower method out. What was once a sign of quality became seen as old-fashioned. A house that talks back, with walls that heal in layers, was traded for silence. Number 12. Exterior bulkhead doors opening into the cellar. Those slanted, double wooden doors set into a concrete frame gave independent access to the root cellar or coal bin without tracking mud through the kitchen. Homeowners could haul in winter fuel, bring up canned goods, or escape a tornado directly from the yard. But as poured concrete basements with interior stairways became standard, the bulkhead was seen as a drafty, leaky relic. Moisture seeped under the lip, hinges rusted, and the wooden doors eventually rotted. By the 1960s, a full, dry basement with a proper stair felt modern and safe, so the old bulkhead was often paved over, its once vital shortcut forgotten. It wasn't banned or illegal. It simply fell out of fashion when builders discovered that a dry, finished basement added more value to a house than a muddy, spider-filled root cellar ever could. Convenience, not regulation, sealed the bulkhead's fate. Number 13. A masonry chimney built around several flues. A single stack, but inside it was divided like a secret staircase. One flue for the kitchen range, another for the parlor stove, and more for the upstairs bedrooms. It faded because central heating and gas appliances needed only one small vent, making the massive brick piles seem wasteful. A single metal flue was cheaper and quicker, and the old chimney's bulk was seen as an antique luxury no new suburb wanted to afford. Number 14. A wringer washer on the back porch. Before automatic machines, Monday morning meant hauling a galvanized tub of hot water from the kitchen stove out to the porch, loading the dirty clothes into the washer, and cranking them through the rubber rollers by hand to squeeze out the sudsy water. It was hard work, but the machine itself was simple and lasted for decades. By the 1960s, the fully automatic washing machine had moved indoors, and the wringer washer, cheap though it was, felt like a relic of a slower, more laborious time. The older machine never broke. It was simply abandoned for convenience. The new suburb offered a laundry room with a matching washer and dryer, clean and out of sight. Number 15. Homemade storm windows installed each autumn. Before aluminum storms, families built their own each fall. A simple pine frame with a single pane, tacked into the window casing from outside. The warm seal of wood against wood stopped drafts better than any modern vinyl. But as hardware stores offered cheap factory storms, the annual chore of lugging, fitting, and storing these heavy frames felt old-fashioned. By the 1960s, most households had traded the ritual for convenience. The reason these vanished isn't that they failed, it's that American life got faster. A family that once spent a Saturday installing homemade storms now wanted a snap-in solution. And factory windows were lighter, cheaper, and needed no storage shed. But the old frames, painted and repainted for decades, held a tight seal that seasonal windows never matched. We gave up craft for convenience. Number 16. Well water and a private septic system. Before sprawling water districts, a country home pumped its own water from a deep well and handled waste in a septic tank buried in the yard. It was simple, off-grid self-reliance, no monthly bill, just a pump and a leach field. But when cheap municipal water and sewer lines reached rural areas, well water was seen as old-fashioned, and septic tanks reminded people of the back-breaking chores they'd left behind. Why it faded? When municipal water arrived, it promised chlorine-clean water and automatic flushing. Well water meant testing, filters, and the occasional dry spell. Septic systems required pumping and care. A modern sewer was effortless. Convenience won. Number 17. A detached garage set behind the house. In older neighborhoods, the garage was an afterthought, built farther back along a narrow alley or at the rear of a long lot. It kept the car, and its noise and fumes, away from the front porch and parlor. But by the 1950s, developers discovered they could sell more homes by placing the garage right up front, attached to the house. What was once a practical separation became seen as inconvenient. The rear garage faded, replaced by the attached garage that dominates the streetscape even today. Number 18. A barn or wagon shed beside the home. Before the automobile, each rural house needed a dry place for a horse, a buggy, or a wagon. Many Depression-era homes still had these sturdy sheds, often built of rough-hewn timber with a dirt floor and a hayloft above. They were as essential as the kitchen. As cars replaced horses, the wagon shed became a garage, but many were simply demolished or left to rot. By the 1950s suburbs, driveways and attached garages were standard, and the old barn was seen as a relic of a dirtier, smellier past. Number 19. Hand-worn stair treads and uneven floors that remembered generations. In an old house, the steps dipped where feet had climbed for 40 years, and a doorway might sit a little higher than the next room. A tract-house arrived level, measured, and new. It could copy the look of age, but it could not manufacture that record of lives. That wear was not neglect. It was the visible record of children, workers, and visitors moving through the same rooms across decades. New suburbs offered clean lines and a hopeful beginning, The old house offered a history that had already happened. Number 20. A smokehouse for keeping meat through winter. Each farm had one, a small shed where pork shoulders and hams hung in thick hickory smoke for weeks, turning pink flesh into a shelf-stable staple that needed no ice. When affordable electric refrigerators arrived in the 1950s, families could buy frozen meat at the grocery store week by week. The smokehouse became a relic, too much labor for a convenience the new suburbs made unnecessary. Number 21. Double-hung windows with sash weights and ropes inside the frame. The lower sash lifted smoothly because a hidden cord ran over a pulley to an iron weight. That small piece of engineering let a room breathe without surrendering its shape. New suburban houses often arrived with lighter aluminum windows that looked bright and modern. They opened differently, with less of the old frame's counterweighted balance. The difference was small, but the old window carried its mechanism inside the architecture. Number 22. Push-button light switches from the first wiring. In an old house, a small round button clicked into the wall with a firm mechanical snap, a sign that electricity had arrived room by room. The switch was simple, sturdy, and easy to recognize in the dark. The new suburbs leaned toward the flat toggle or lever switch, repeated from house to house. It worked perfectly well, but the old push button still felt like a little piece of the house's first electrical chapter. Number 23. A screened sleeping porch added for hot summers. Before air conditioning, families would retreat to these screened rooms on sweltering nights, sleeping under the stars safely away from insects. After window units became cheap in the 1950s, the sleeping porch was easily abandoned. Sealing the house tight became the modern way. Number 24. A back porch that became a mudroom over time. In many Depression-era houses, the back porch was little more than a sheltered landing where you left muddy boots and let the dog shake dry. But as families grew and winters bit harder, homeowners walled it in, added a bench, hooks, and a linoleum floor for easy sweeping. This makeshift mudroom was pure thrift. It used existing space and salvaged materials. But by the 1950s, new suburban homes came with a separate entry and a garage, making the improvised mudroom feel old-fashioned and cramped. The back porch became a relic of a time when you made do with what you had. Number 25. Rooms added by generations instead of one tract-house plan. In an old house, you could see the family's history in the floor plan. A son built a bedroom onto the back when he married. A daughter's family later added a sunroom. Each addition was framed with hand-cut joists and finished with salvaged windows, making the home a living chronicle of need and resourcefulness. Why did this stop? The post-war suburb offered a finished house on a slab, with no attic to finish and no side yard for an addition. Builders realized that a home without room to grow could be sold again as soon as the family outgrew it. That planned obsolescence killed a tradition that had stood for centuries. These 25 features were practical infrastructure, family and neighbors filling gaps that new convenience goods later filled. The objects faded, but the habit of asking, "Can I make it, repair it, or share it?" remained useful. The lesson was not to rebuild each smokehouse or cistern. It was to remember that a good home held skills, shared memory, and room for neighbors. Did the house you grew up in have a storm cellar, sleeping porch, or company store ledger? Tell us below and subscribe to keep these stories alive.